So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this AI workshop series. My name is Yrjö Lappalainen. I'm the data services librarian here at ZU Library. And I'm here today with my colleague Nikesh Narayanan, also from the library. And this is the first session in our AI workshop series. And we are really excited about the program. We have guest speakers from other colleges and departments as well. So we have 8 different sessions scheduled, and I really recommend that you attend these other ones as well, if possible. And I'd like to thank all the other presenters for participating in our series. And today's session is an introduction to AI. And we have so much to tell you already in this session, so I'm not sure if this 1 hour is enough, but let's see. So we will start from the background, definitions, and a very brief history of AI. Also ChatGPT, so today we will be talking mostly about ChatGPT. Also the possibilities of AI in education, academic use cases. Also, I will briefly talk about other language models and generative AI services as well. And finally, the limitations and challenges of AI. But let's start from the definition. So this is from a UNESCO study a few years back. And they wrote that there's no single definition for AI, but machines based on AI are potentially capable of imitating or even exceeding human cognitive capabilities, including sensing, language interaction, reasoning and analysis, problem solving, and even creativity. So this is from 2019, so it's from before the major breakthrough of generative AI. And usually AI is divided into weak or narrow AI and strong AI. So weak AI is a system that is designed to do a specific task. And then strong AI would be human level intelligence, and it could be used for different purposes. And sometimes this is also called artificial general intelligence, or AGI. And when you think of artificial intelligence, this is what usually comes to mind first. So obviously it's been a popular topic in sci-fi for a long time. And actually the idea of thinking machines is older than computers by thousands of years. So for example, here on the left, Talos from the ancient Greek mythology was a living and intelligent statue made of bronze. So it's a very, very old idea. You can see some other famous examples here. Usually in sci-fi, the AI is also sentient. So it has consciousness that is similar to humans. And that's usually the central topic in these works. But in reality, we are not there yet. So for example, ChatGPT is not sentient, and it's not even artificial general intelligence yet. But we are getting closer and closer all the time. And also about the real history of AI, there's already a long history of 70 years. So it didn't just appear yesterday. So the term was already coined in 1956. And in the 60s, there were already these simple chatbots like Eliza. So those were based on pattern matching and substitution. So they were very simple, but some people already thought that there's a human behind the machine, or that it thinks like a human. Then in the 70s, there were these rule-based systems. In the 80s, neural networks were invented. So these are AI models inspired by the human brain. And this is really like the foundation of modern AI, because now the AI could learn from the data itself, like instead of following some specific rules. Then already in the 90s, in 97, IBM's Deep Blue defeated Garry Kasparov in chess. And then in 2011, IBM's Watson defeated two champions in TV show Jeopardy. And then obviously recently OpenAI released the GPT models. So there have been major advances in natural language processing and generative AI. And these are based on transformers. So this is a new type of AI or neural network that is very good at following the context and also the earlier inputs. And actually, even before generative AI, you have already been using AI for a long time. So many popular services like Google Search, Maps, YouTube, Amazon, and so on. AI has been working behind the scenes already. So for example, these different recommendation systems or map services and other services. So you have been using AI already, but you usually don't see it or you don't think about it. Then something changed dramatically in November 22. So OpenAI released ChatGPT. So obviously it doesn't need an introduction anymore, but GPT comes from the words generative pre-trained transformer. So there's three concepts here. Generative, obviously, so it generates text. Then pre-trained, so it's trained on a huge amount of data. And then transformers. So it's based on the transformer architecture. So it can follow the context and it also remembers what you said before. So it can keep up the conversation and you can ask follow-up questions as well. So it's very different from other earlier chatbots that you may have seen before. Okay, and how does it really work? It's not really intelligent in the way humans are. It's definitely not sentient and it's not really thinking. So this is a little bit oversimplified, but basically it simply predicts the next word in a sequence of words based on probability. So in that sense, it doesn't really think at all, but it's very sophisticated in predicting the next word because it's been trained on terabytes of data. So websites, ebooks, social media, and so on. And also it's doing this iteratively. So every time it generates something new, it calculates the probability again. And it's based on the whole context, not just the previous word, but the whole context. You probably have noticed that you can use ChatGPT for almost anything. So these are just a few examples. So obviously you can chat about almost any topic. And as I mentioned, it also remembers what you have said before. Obviously, all kinds of text generation. I think it's at its best in brainstorming. So you can quickly come up with new ideas and something to get started with. Paraphrasing, summarizing, shortening, and so on. Nikesh will talk more about these later. You can create text in any style, any level of understanding. Also, you can use it for quick reference and information retrieval. But the standard version has a major limitation because it doesn't have any access to data after year 21. So it cannot answer current questions. But they have already developed these plugins. So it can search the internet and use other data sources as well. Then, for example, language learning, translation, coding is a major use case. It's actually very good at coding. So it can generate code from scratch, or it can improve some existing code. So it's a very good coding assistant, actually. Sentiment analysis is one case. So it can figure out from the text if it's positive or negative, for example. And obviously you can mix and match anything. So you can ask, for example, a sad poem about coding. So it's really up to your imagination and also your prompt engineering skills, and what kind of instructions you are giving it. So this is very different from usual human-computer interaction. So you can give the instructions in natural language, and there's no one right way to do it. So people are still experimenting on this and finding new ways to use it. And we will look into some of these ways in prompt engineering session next week. Okay, so once again, ChatGPT is not artificial general intelligence, and it's definitely not sentient. So it doesn't think, it doesn't feel, it doesn't act autonomously, it's not self-conscious, it simply predicts words based on probability. So humans have a tendency for something called anthropomorphism. So this means that we like to see human characteristics in non-human entities. So for example, my computer is acting up, or my car is having a bad day, and so on. And in this case, since the text is so good, it's very easy to believe that it thinks like a human. So it's very good at predicting the next word. So I guess that's also one type of intelligence, but it's not the same as human intelligence. So when you think, you don't just predict the next word. There's also something else going on in your mind. Even if it's not AGI, it's obvious that there will be major implications. So you have probably seen similar headlines before. So these are just from education and academia. So for example, a threat to higher education, essay is dead, universities are returning to pen and paper, and universities start revamping how they teach. So the last one is actually a very good idea. And Dr. Samir will be talking more about that in his session. That's on Wednesday this week. Obviously, the fact is that there will be implications, but I don't think this is a threat or the end of anything. I think this is a huge opportunity and kind of like a beginning of a new era. Okay, so some of the limitations of ChatGPT. So first of all, it's proprietary software, so we don't fully know how it works and what kind of data set it's using. So we know something about it, but not everything. And also there are some fees. So the basic version is free, but they also have this paid version. And now the free version uses the older model, and there might be some other limitations as well. Then I already mentioned that it cannot answer current questions, except with these plugins. But at least for now, these plugins are only available for the subscribers. So that's $20 US a month at the moment. Also, it can generate biased or incorrect responses. So we don't know what the dataset is exactly, but it has lots of materials from the public web, social media, and usually that is biased towards Western and English material to begin with. So obviously, if the training data is biased, then the model replicates it as well. So if you train the model with trash, it will generate trash as well. So it's only as good as the training data set. Then, depending on your question, it can struggle with the context sometimes. So, of course, this depends on your topic and how complex your question is. Then I think one of the biggest limitations is that it doesn't mention its sources. So you don't know where the information is actually coming from. So how can we evaluate validity if we don't know the source? And also it can make things up. And this is also known as hallucinations. So this is a relatively new thing. And this comes with the large language models. So instead of saying that it doesn't know, it tries to fill the gap and it comes up with some kind of nonsense. Okay, so you might have incorrect or fictional responses, but the problem is that the text looks very convincing. It's just factually incorrect. So actually, these large language models do this quite a lot, and it can be difficult to even notice the error unless you are already some kind of an expert in the topic. Okay, and there are some different reasons behind this. So as I mentioned, sometimes it doesn't understand the context. There could also be some errors in the data. It could be biased, or there's no data about this topic at all, or some kind of an issue on how the model was trained. Okay. Then a little bit about the possibilities of AI in education. So I think you will hear more about this in Dr. Summer's session on Wednesday. But just briefly, I think these are the main possibilities. So obviously content generation, especially brainstorming and co-creation. So you can use it to brainstorm and generate different texts real quick. Also personalized learning support. So it's like a free tutor or some kind of a support person who is always available and always ready to answer your questions. And if you use the right kind of prompting, it can offer really nice personalized learning experiences. Then I think this is very important, experimentation and learning without fear of judgment. So it allows all kinds of experimentation and testing. So you can try different solutions and scenarios and have even wild ideas, and it's not going to laugh at you or anything. And it also never gets tired of you. Then assessment and feedback is one. So it can, for example, compare your answers to some criteria and then give you feedback based on that. Okay, and now Nikesh will continue from here. Go ahead, Nikesh.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nikesh Narayanan. Thanks, Uriel. Uriel has mentioned about the limitations of ChatGPT and also the possible hallucinations. Still, there are a lot of possibilities of AI in education. We can use artificial intelligence and particularly ChatGPT in education. He has mentioned about the UNESCO document. We have given that link right here at the bottom. You can see the link. And we have taken some points here. So one is we can use it as a possibility engine. I think we all noticed that in ChatGPT, there is an option for regenerate responses. So you can generate, alternative responses for the same question. So the students and teachers will have the opportunity to see different answers for the same questions or alternative answers. And another thing is that Socratic opponent, it can act as a Socratic opponent. And actually, Dr. Samar will be handling this in detail in the coming session. But the Socratic method, actually named after the classical Greek philosopher Socrates, it's a form of cooperative, argumentative dialogue where individuals ask and answer questions to stimulate critical thinking. In case of ChatGPT, usually we ask some questions and ChatGPT answers. So instead of directly answering a user's question, here in Socratic method, ChatGPT could pose a series of counter questions to guide the user to discover the answer for themselves. For example, if you ask what is a democracy, then ChatGPT might ask, what do you understand by governance by the people? So it will question you or question the user and give more chance of thinking. So I'm not going to explain it more because Dr. Samar will be explaining. So it can act as a collaboration coach and also guide on the side. For example, teachers use ChatGPT to generate content for courses, example discussion questions, etc. And it can also act as a personal tutor where it can provide personalized feedback to students based on information provided by the student or teachers. Can you go to the next slide? Okay, a code designer is a really very good option. For example, teachers can design curriculum. If you give the important points, ChatGPT can create curriculum for you, or rubrics for assessment, or even teaching notes. So it can create anything. It can design anything for you, based on your prompt. So the prompt engineering is really important. We will be handling that in the next session. And it can act as an exploratorium and a study buddy. So all the explanations are given here. How can you use ChatGPT in education? Since we don't have much time, so I'm not skipping this slide. And also the last one is also an important matter: dynamic assessor. It's dynamic assessor means for example, ChatGPT can track students' performance over multiple sessions, providing insight into their learning curve and areas that need improvement. This is really teachers can use, and also identifying knowledge gaps. For example, by engaging students in discussions and asking questions. So in this case, ChatGPT can pinpoint areas where a student might lack understanding or have misconceptions. These are some of the ways where we can use ChatGPT in education, but there are a lot of possibilities, and people are discovering various ways to interact with ChatGPT, but we have given only very few points from the UNESCO document. Next. Yeah, rethinking assignments and evaluation in the era of generative AI. This is really a great challenge for teachers. Usually we used to give specific problems to students. So now they can answer those questions with the use of ChatGPT very easily, and they don't learn anything out of that. So we need to think a new way of giving questions. We need to give them open problems. These are some of the suggestions by the experts in the educational fields. So open problems means there won't be a specific answer for that question. There may be various answers or open answers. So users can think critically and give the answers. Then another scenario is you write an essay about something. So in the context of ChatGPT, this is very easy to write an essay using ChatGPT. Now we can ask the students to analyze and improve their essay using ChatGPT and explain how ChatGPT would help you. These are some of the ways we can tackle the issue of copying directly from ChatGPT. And in the case of coding, you explained about ChatGPT is very good at coding. So if you ask something, for a code for something, it can directly give you the code. but instead, we can ask students to analyze and improve their code using ChatGPT and explain what they learned out of that. For example, there are various ways to reduce the code and also the increase the efficiency of the code. So, and we can ask the students what they learned and what improvement they got it from ChatGPT, etc. And evaluate the end result. Instead of evaluating the end result, we may ask the students to evaluate the process, how they did the problem, how they attained the end results using the ChatGPT. So these are some of the ways, and I'm sure in Dr. Samar's class, we will be discussing more about that with a lot of explanations. Next. Yeah, these are some of the use cases where we can use ChatGPT in education. We can use it for in exploring introduction to new topics and clarifying concepts, checking facts, and finding potential sources. The last point, finding potential sources, is little bit really challenging. As we know that ChatGPT and this kind of generative AI tools hallucinate so much. So the sources may not be correct always. So we need to take care when we ask ChatGPT to provide the source. Usually it won't provide the source. But if you ask for some links, specific links, it hallucinates and creates the link. So this is little bit tricky in this case. But the rest, the three, introduction and clarifying concepts and checking facts, etc. Most of the time it might be, it turns to be true. So we can use it for that purposes. Next. And of course, we have been using ChatGPT for many of these functionalities like paraphrasing, expanding, shortening, synthesizing, etc. There were a lot of paraphrasing tools, still are there, even before ChatGPT was introduced, like Qbot, Paraphrase.ai, etc. But ChatGPT also is very good in paraphrasing and shortening, synthesizing, translating, etc., and proofreading. This is really a useful tool. We can use ChatGPT. For example, we know that ChatGPT is a generative AI. It generates text for us. But if you need to keep your own text and you just need proofreading, you can ask ChatGPT to keep your text and just edit it and check it for grammatical errors and also for proofreading. Then it will give that results without generating the content. Next. Okay, yeah, and there are various applications that uses ChatGPT API or ChatGPT model. One of the example is ChatPDF. ChatPDF is an application. Another one is data.chat. So these kind of applications, you can upload a PDF to that application, and you can ask questions about any document. So if you upload an article, you can ask about the methodology adopted in that article or the results of that article. So the chat PDF would provide you an answer for that. And please remember, you cannot upload some confidential document because all these are processed in the external servers. For example, OpenAI servers, and we don't know whether they store it. So please keep in mind, you don't export confidential information into ChatGPT or ChatPDF, etc. And actually, I've been using this ChatPDF for my academic purpose, for analyzing articles, etc. You can save a lot of time. So we recommend this one. It's a very good use case for using for our research purposes. So next. Another example is Perplexity.ai. Perplexity.ai is actually knowledge search engine, which is using ChatGPT 3 and ChatGPT 4 language model, but it has its own corpus of data. It is not using ChatGPT data, but it has collected its own data, huge amount of data, and it has a lot of educational material also, like scholarly articles. So if you ask questions to Perplexity.ai, it tries to mitigate the issue of hallucination by giving you the links, exact link to the article. For example, if you ask some research questions, it would provide you the results as well as the links. Usually it provides in-text citation and also the references at the end. So this tool is really very useful for the students as well as teachers. And the good point about Perplexity is that we can verify the accuracy of the information since we get the link from the system. However, it is important to note that it's also a generative AI model, and it can also hallucinate. But in my experience, it is better than ChatGPT, for getting some research type of answers with the links. Next. Yeah, the coding, Yurio has already explained about the coding. It's very good at coding, quick prototyping and testing, code improvement, debugging, documentation. We takes a lot of time for documentation for the coding. So we can save a lot of time. ChatGPT can provide documentation and also learning resource. Next. Okay, so Yurio will continue with prompt engineering. Thank you.
Yeah, so from this, we actually have a separate session coming next week. So I won't be using much time on this. But as I mentioned earlier, you can chat with the AI in natural language. So this is very different from typical human-computer interaction, because usually you had to give some kind of commands, or there was some kind of an interface where you click something to get the results. But this is very different. So you make the rules yourself, and you have to know how to present your question or task to the AI. So if you ask a very generic question, you will get a generic answer as well. But if you're more specific, you will get better results. And this is called prompt engineering, and it's becoming more and more important. And some people are already calling it the most important skill of this century. Okay, here are just a quick example how you can modify your prompt. So you can add a role, so act as an expert of something. Then give it a verb. You specify the format, length, objective, data points, tone of voice, who's the target audience, and so on. So on the right side, there's a concrete example. So instead of asking like, write me a presentation about marketing, you could try this one. So act as an experienced professor of marketing. Create presentation bullet points and transcript. Length is 5 slides and duration is 15 minutes, and so on. Objective is to present the 5 P's of marketing. Okay, so you can try. You can see for yourself. Try for a generic prompt and then this one, and compare the difference. I wanted to mention very briefly that there are many other large language models published recently as well. So ChatGPT is definitely not the only one. These are just a few examples. So if you are interested, you can follow the links here. And some of these are open source, so you can download them, and you can also train them further if you have the expertise. And you can run them even locally on your computer, so you don't even need an internet connection to do it. And I think this is actually a huge deal. It's potentially even bigger than ChatGPT itself, because anyone can now train and use these things. So you can try some online demos in this address here. I will send you the slides so you can follow these links. And at the same time, there's another revolution going on in the field of image generation. So we have these different services like DALL-E, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and others. And you can create completely realistic photos, graphics, art, so on. Anything that you can imagine. And other models for speech, music, videos, 3D objects, and so on. So unfortunately, today we don't have much time to take a closer look at these, but I really recommend that you give them a try and see what kind of results you can get. Okay, then a little bit about the limitations. So obviously there are many limitations and challenges with AI. And the first thing that everyone is probably thinking about is cheating and plagiarism. So the definition of plagiarism is that you are presenting somebody's work, ideas, or words as your own without proper attribution. So AI, it generates new content, but it doesn't really copy anything one-to-one. So is it plagiarism or not? It kind of is, because the answers are based on somebody else's work originally, but you are not citing the original source. That's the problem here. Then another issue is that these traditional plagiarism tools like Turnitin and others, they usually focus on identical matching and paraphrasing. So it doesn't work on AI-generated content just like that. So also these providers need to update their tools. And here at Zeit University, we have a policy on academic integrity, and it's already been updated with the AI aspect. So it says that the unauthorized use of AI tools is considered cheating and/or plagiarism. But the keyword here is unauthorized. So professors can decide if they allow it in their classes or not. Okay, and the fact is that people will definitely use ChatGPT and other generative AI no matter what. So we need to learn how to deal with this. And first of all, I think it's very important to discuss the rules openly. So is it allowed or not? I think it depends a lot on the topic. So it's not necessarily suitable for all subjects or all classes, but I think it's important to discuss it openly. Then there's also these AI text detectors. They are not working 100%, but they can help you identify texts generated by AI because they use these certain patterns and certain expressions. So you may be able to detect it. And obviously there are many non-technical ways to detect this as well. Of course, some of these come naturally. So, for example, you can see if the answer is typical to the student or not. Or you could see if the response uses terminology from the class or something completely different. And of course, other ways like asking to explain the story in person, asking to submit the prompt with the response, or to explain the steps, or, for example, showing documents with track changes, so you can see how the response has developed over time. Then I think I mentioned this earlier. I think the bigger issue here is the validity and quality. So ChatGPT is not really a reliable source of information because it can generate biased or incorrect responses, and also it doesn't mention its sources. So this is obviously not acceptable in academic writing. Also, I talked about the hallucinations, so it can even make things up. and sometimes it can be difficult to see what is true and what is made up. Also, we still need to check the facts and always use real sources to back up any claims. So I think evaluating and questioning validity is more important than ever. You cannot just take anything from ChatGPT as it is, if you're doing academic writing especially. You also need to check the facts and use real sources. Then privacy is one. This we talked about a little bit already. So in ChatGPT, everything is processed on the OpenAI server. So you shouldn't put any private or sensitive information in there because it could be used for training the model. So, for example, some business secrets or medical data or personal data or stuff like this. So these open source models could be a more secure option because you can install those on your own server, so the data doesn't go anywhere else. Then technical challenges, obviously, many of these tools and services, they are still in early development phases. So there might be capacity issues and bugs and all kinds of problems. These open access alternatives, they are available, but they might have really high hardware requirements. So you need to have some serious computing power if you want to run these on your own device. You cannot run them on any device. And obviously, all of this is it's emerging and happening right now. So there's still a lack of documentation and standards in the field, but of course this will get better over time. Then lots of ethical and legal issues. There are so many that we could have probably had another session for that. But ChatGPT has these safety mechanisms, so it shouldn't create any offensive or otherwise questionable content, but you might be able to trick it by prompt engineering. And then there are these other models available that have zero restrictions. So no restrictions at all. That is the downside of open source models. So obviously somebody will always use these tools for questionable and even illegal purposes. So unfortunately, some people will always do that. So we need to get ready for AI-generated disinformation, spam, phishing, hate speech, deepfakes, voice cloning, identity thefts, and so on. So it's a long list. Obviously, we already have these issues, but generative AI will make it a lot more sophisticated and also harder to identify. Then copyright is also an interesting issue, especially with these image generation services, because these models were trained on copyrighted materials from the internet. And actually, they were already sued for copyright infringement. So this will be a very interesting case to watch. Let's see what happens with that. Then this is an excellent quote from Neil Jacobstein, the head of AI at Singularity University. It's not artificial intelligence I'm worried about, it's human stupidity. So it seems like the real problem is not the AI itself, but it's what humans do with this technology. And here's what we did at the library. So we have this chatbot project. we created a chatbot and we call her Aisha. So we started earlier this year and we had the first prototype in February already. So it's using OpenAI API and local data from our website and guides and other sources. So you can ask questions about the library services. So we still haven't launched her officially, but you can already talk to her. The address is here. I will send you the slides. The initial experience is that there's huge potential here for providing 24/7 assistance. So far we have been testing this with librarians only, but we have been really impressed about it. So it can answer in natural language, and usually the answers are quite accurate. Obviously, there are still some limitations. It's using the same engine as ChatGPT, so it has similar issues. Sometimes there can be hallucinations, for example, and also it doesn't have access to real-time data right now. But we already have lots of ideas, so we will do some more testing. We are hoping to add real-time data as well and connect the bot to other sources like the library catalog. So you could ask about the collection in real time. Okay, so you can test Aisha in this address, but it's still in testing phase. So if there are too many users at the same time, she might run out of memory. Okay. Then we also created this guide. So this is available for the whole university. Everything that we mentioned here today in this workshop, and also a lot more. So how to get started, some AI history, academic integrity, about prompt engineering, some recommended AI tools, ethical issues and challenges, and so on. And obviously this is work in progress, so we will keep updating this. Also, if you have some suggestions or you would like to see something here, we are happy to help you with that. Okay, and coming to a conclusion, so it's clear that there's a revolution underway here. So there's no turning back now, and also nowhere to hide. So this is a major change that is similar to the internet or mobile phones or Wikipedia and so on. So this is too big to ignore, and there's no way to hide. So we need to face this. And we can see that these large pre-trained models are working, and new models and projects are appearing every day. So it's actually hard even for us to keep up, because there's so many things going on right now. Every day there's a new project announced. And this is not just a single tool or single provider that we are talking about here. This is a whole new industry based around this technology. And obviously these are very powerful tools, many potential use cases, but also risks. And still, I think AI still has its limitations, but I think this is just the beginning, because these tools are still in their early stages, but they will develop faster than anyone can ever imagine. And I also think this technology will be everywhere. So, for example, Microsoft is one of the main funders of OpenAI, and they have already integrated ChatGPT in Bing search engine. And they will also integrate it into other services like Word, Excel, Teams, and so on. And probably many websites will also have these AI assistants, similar to Aisha. Now, I think the most important thing here that everyone needs to remember is that we need to study, practice, and promote the responsible use of AI. Okay, so this concludes our presentation. Yeah, let me check if there's questions in the chat. Yeah, so is ChatGPT not able to work with open problems? Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, it can be used for almost anything. So basically, yes, it could also work with open problems. But maybe it's more difficult for it to solve than a specific problem. So if the question is, for example, what have you learned from this? Then obviously you can ask ChatGPT to generate what you have learned. So it doesn't fully solve the problem, but I think it would be more difficult for it to answer open problems. And obviously you need to pay attention to the assessment, like how you assess the assignment. Then other questions, are these free? I think you were referring to those academic tools. Many of them are free, so you can at least try them for free. And then there's usually a paid version available as well, so you will have more features. So obviously there's like after the OpenAI API was published, there's like a huge number of startups developing their products using the OpenAI API. So obviously they are trying to make money from it. But usually there's a free version available. Then does ChatGPT have access to published research that are not open source articles? Well, like I mentioned, it's unclear what the data set actually is. So to my understanding, it doesn't have access to published research that is behind paywalls. So obviously that's one major problem as well, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Asked a question about Aisha, and this was the answer. Aisha chatbot project was created by the ZU library team, and here are the members of the team. So it's listing me and Nikesh and Christine Stewart and also Meriam Al-Hajari, who was a student trainee at the library. So that's the team that was developing the bot. Can ChatGPT process inputs from a user and generate it to another user? Do you mean like, can you share the results? Because nowadays there is an option for that. So you can create a link to the discussion that you had with ChatGPT, and then you can send that to somebody else, and they will see the same discussion, and they can continue it from that.
You talked about unauthorized use of ChatGPT following ZU guidance.
Yes.
ZU policy. So it means that if we are authorizing a student to use ChatGPT, like for example, in writing their senior projects or whatever, do I need to do, for example, a letter or sign something that I'm authorizing them, or just it is my responsibility to check after if they have done plagiarism?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I don't think there are any instructions for that yet.
Ah, okay.
So how do you inform them if it's allowed or not? That's a good question. I think we need to think about that.
Because I asked so many students just to see if they are copying information from ChatGPT, but they don't have any idea about ChatGPT,
Okay, okay.
which is good, and I don't know.
No, if they don't know yet, they will know soon.
Yeah, I guess so.
There's no way to hide.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions?
Thank you.
Proofreading how to cite, is this one question? Dr. Yi.
Yeah, it's my question. When I do proofreading, if I do proofreading, then I send to the journal, then they will find those things are from ChatGPT. Then I'm in trouble.
Yes, that's also that's a good point. So I think many journals and publishers, nowadays they have the policy already for generative AI. So usually it says that you have to mention if you have used these tools. So each publisher, they might have some standard clause or something that you need to add, like which tool did you use and for what purpose. But obviously the problem is that if you copy something directly from ChatGPT and then paste it in your article, and if they use some tools to analyze the text, it might be detected as generated by GPT. So that's one issue. It's a difficult question as well. But I think a safe way would be to use it for guidance, but don't copy paste it directly into your own article.
So better not use it.
I'm sorry?
Proofreading. Better not to use it.
You can use it, but just don't copy paste it exactly as it is from ChatGPT. That way you will avoid getting busted by the detector.
No, my paper is mine. I just asked them to do proofreading for me. I wonder that kind of situation. I'm not copy and paste.
Yes, of course, I understand. It's your paper, but you want to improve the quality of the text. You want to do proofreading with ChatGPT. But then the problem is that if they use the detector, it might be detected as generated by ChatGPT. So they don't know if you originally wrote it, or did you originally take it from ChatGPT. That's the problem. Yeah, Marina, your question, I think I need to get back to you on this. That's a difficult question about using ChatGPT as a tool for instructors to create rubrics and so on. Yeah, so what if we write our text, then ask ChatGPT to paraphrase it? Will it show that ChatGPT wrote it? Yeah, that's just the problem. So if you copy paste something from ChatGPT and then somebody else uses the detector, it might be detected as generated by ChatGPT. And they don't know if it was originally your text or did you just copy it. That's the issue here. So that's why I would recommend to avoid copy pasting at all times.
Even if we wrote, for example, a text and asked ChatGPT to correct it, to write it correctly in a maybe formal form or better form, it will also be detected.
Well, I cannot answer you 100%. It might be detected. That's the problem. This is like emerging. This is all brand new. This is new for everyone. So they are developing these tools and developing these policies.
Because
But
I've tried this with ChatGPT 0.
yeah,
I've written something and have asked ChatGPT to correct it for me, and then I have pasted it in ChatGPT 0 for detection.
yes,
And sometimes most of the time it cannot detect that it says that it is written by human, and when there is they said that this text is mix of a human writing and AI.
yes.
But it will not precise where exactly. That's the problem maybe.
Yeah, there are
From
these
where?
different services like Zero GPT and other ones. In
Yeah.
our the AI guide, there's a list of other tools as well, so you can try the other ones as well. But I
Okay.
think there's usually a paid version available, so if you pay a little bit, then I think it could be it would have more features.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, obviously everyone is trying to
Yeah.
make money on this.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, then thank you so much everyone for attending. And I will send the slides and also the recording to everyone who registered. And there will also be a small survey. So you will get it by email, the link by email. So it will only take a couple of minutes. So please answer the survey as well, so we can develop these workshops. And if you have the time, please attend the other sessions as well. So we have a very, very interesting program coming up. So thank you so much.